Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today is Friday, January 30th, 2026. And we are looking at a story that, it feels like it's been just dominating the cultural conversation for the last 2 years.
It really has.
But if you actually peel back the layers, this thing has been brewing for, a quarter of a century?
It really is one of those stories where the ending completely, recontextualizes the beginning.
We are talking, of course, about the saga of 50 Cent versus Sean Diddy Combs. And I want to start with where we are right now, today, because the contrast is, it's staggering.
You're unbelievable.
You have Diddy, who was once this untouchable kingmaker of hip-hop, and he's currently sitting in a cell at FCI Fort Dix in New Jersey, serving a 50-month sentence.
And then on the exact opposite side of that, you have 50 Cent. He's just executive produced Sean Combs, The Reckoning.
#1 on Netflix.
Shattering records. And it effectively cements 50 Cent as the narrator of this entire history.
A complete reversal of fortunes. But what I want to do today isn't just, gossip about the fallout. We've got a massive stack of sources here.
Yeah.
Court transcripts from the 2025 trial, investigative pieces from Rolling Stone, The Hollywood Reporter, and some really dense legal filings from just this week about that documentary.
Right.
So what we need to figure out is how this went from a standard rap rivalry to the systematic dismantling of an entire empire.
It's a case study in strategy, really. 50 Cent didn't just beef with Diddy. He ran a 20-year campaign of attrition.
So let's go back. Because the narrative that 50 is selling right now, that he was the whistleblower who saw the truth when everyone else was blind, it's compelling. But is it actually true?
Well, that's the question. I was digging through the early timeline, and I was surprised to find that they weren't always enemies.
No, not at all. In fact, in the beginning, they were.
Well, they were coworkers, essentially. Yeah. If you go back to 2001, the whole power dynamic was completely different. Diddy was the mogul, right? The guy throwing parties in the Hamptons.
Untouchable.
And 50 Cent was the gritty up-and-comer from Queens just trying to break into the industry. And in 2001, 50 was actually ghostwriting for Diddy.
I think a lot of people forget that 50 was a writer first.
He was a hook master.
Yeah.
And he wrote Diddy's verse on a track called Let's Get It. Now, at the time, this was just business. Diddy needed street cred. 50 needed money.
And connections.
But if you pull up the lyrics to that song today, in 2026, it is genuinely eerie.
I have them right here. This is what 50 wrote for Diddy to say. Send the cops, the DA, and feds to come get me.
And it keeps going, doesn't it? Cats want to leave me for dead, you come in with me.
It's incredible. You have 50 Cent, in his own handwriting, penning the words, send the feds to come get me, for the man who is literally sitting in federal prison right now.
It's like he was writing the script for Diddy's life 20 years in advance.
It does feel prophetic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. But at that moment, 50 just saw Diddy as a means to an end. It was purely transactional. In interviews from that time, 50 was already sort of expressing disdain for Diddy's role.
Right.
He saw him as a middleman, someone who took credit for the work of artists and writers. He didn't respect him as a creator. He respected him as a bank account.
So the friction was there, but it wasn't explosive yet. So when did the Cold War turn hot?
2006, the Mace situation.
Right, Mace. The guy who left Bad Boy to become a pastor, then came back.
Exactly. Mace wanted to leave Diddy's label, Bad Boy, and sign with 50's label, G Unit. And at the time, G Unit was the hottest thing in music.
Of course.
But Diddy held the contract. And he was not letting Mace go for free. He demanded $2 million.
$2 million. And 50 Cent's response was just classic 50.
He went public, said Mace wasn't worth $2 million even if he had the cash sitting in his pocket. He refused to pay.
The deal falls apart.
And that dispute, that business dispute, it seemed to unlock something in 50. He just decided the rules had changed. Later that year, he drops a track called The Bomb.
I remember this one. It wasn't a radio hit, but on the street, it was huge.
Because of what he said. He didn't just insult Diddy's clothes or his dancing. 50 Cent explicitly insinuated that Diddy had knowledge about who murdered the notorious B.I.G.
He rapped, "Man, Puffy know who hit that," referring to Biggie.
And then followed up with, "I guess this means I won't be invited to the white parties in the Hamptons."
Okay, but to be fair, though, accusing someone of being involved in a murder, especially Biggie's, that is a massive accusation. In hip-hop, that's usually a career ender if you can't back it up.
It is.
So why didn't Diddy sue him? Why didn't the industry just shut 50 down?
And that's the fascinating part. Diddy just treated it like noise. He saw 50 as a pest,
He was beneath him.
Exactly. Diddy was dealing with corporate mergers, vodka deals, the high life. He thought he was above it. And that was a huge miscalculation. He didn't realize 50 wasn't just throwing insults. He was planting seeds of doubt that would grow for 2 decades.
And it's interesting you mentioned the vodka deals, because that's really where this feud moved from the studio to the boardroom. This is the era I call the vodka wars.
This was just a masterclass in asymmetric marketing. You have Diddy with Ciroc, right, backed by Diageo, a massive conglomerate, the premium lifestyle brand.
And 50 Cent partners with Effin' Vodka, a much smaller player.
But 50 had the internet, and he had no shame. He started this whole campaign to devalue Ciroc by just attacking its image. He called it puffy juice.
Puffy juice. It sounds so childish, but it worked.
It completely stripped the luxury off the product. He also started this rumor that Ciroc, because it was grape-based, gave you a terrible headache, while his vodka, being wheat-based, didn't.
So he forced consumers to pick a side. Are you with the soft brand or the hard brand?
Exactly. You had to pick a side financially. But underneath all the marketing, there was this specific story 50 kept telling. The shopping trip.
Right. I've heard this story a dozen times, but listening to it now, post-trial, it just hits differently.
This is the anecdote where 50 claims Diddy asked to take him shopping.
And 50's framing of it was always that it was weird.
Weird energy. That was his phrase. He said Diddy offered to take him to buy clothes, and 50's reaction was, that's something a man says to a woman. He used that story to explain why he stopped going to Diddy's parties.
He was signaling to his fan base.
He was saying, I see something wrong here, and I'm staying away.
But let's play devil's advocate for a second. Diddy mentored a lot of guys. Usher, Justin Bieber, French Montana. Is it possible 50 just misinterpreted a gesture? Maybe Diddy just wanted to buy the guy a new suit.
It's entirely possible. And Diddy, for his part, tried to laugh it off. We have a clip from The Breakfast Club in 2018 where he's like, I don't have no beef with Fifth. He loves me. Y'all can't see that he loves me.
He thought it was a joke.
He thought it was banter. But 50 was using that weirdness. And let's be honest, he was relying on some pretty heavy homophobia in the culture to paint Diddy as a predator, or at least someone without boundaries.
He was othering him.
Precisely. He was slowly chipping away at Diddy's armor of invincibility. So when the actual legal trouble finally hit, the public was already sort of primed to believe it.
Which brings us to the collapse. November 2023. Cassie Ventura files her lawsuit.
And that was the dam breaking. Cassie alleged years of abuse, sex trafficking. They settled it in 24 hours, but the damage was done. And 50 Cent...
Didn't wait a second.
Nope. He was on social media immediately saying he paid that money real quick.
And then came the raid, March 2024.
The footage of Homeland Security just tearing apart those mansions in LA and Miami, 50 Cent reposts it with the caption, they don't come like that unless they got a case.
He was positioning himself as the guy who knew all along.
The prophet.
Okay, let's pause here and clarify the actual legal outcome. Because it's 2026 now, and I think there's still some confusion about what Diddy is actually in prison for. He was charged with some very heavy stuff, including racketeering, the RICO charges.
Sex trafficking by force.
Right.
Right. And this is crucial. He was acquitted of the RICO charge and the sex trafficking by force charge.
He was found not guilty on those.
Yes. The jury did not find enough evidence to prove a criminal enterprise in the way RICO requires. And on the trafficking by force charge, the defense, they successfully muddied the waters around consent.
So, why is he in prison for 4 years?
Because he was found guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, and this falls under the Mann Act.
The Mann Act, that sounds like something from the 1920s.
It is an old law, but it is still on the books. Essentially, it is illegal to transport someone across state lines for illegal sexual activity.
And the defense tried to argue these were just, what do they call them?
Freak-offs, consensual high-end parties. They tried to frame it as just a rock and roll lifestyle.
But the judge didn't buy it.
Not at all. Judge Aaron Supermanian was very specific at the sentencing in October 2025. He said that even if the enterprise wasn't proven, Diddy used his power to physically and psychologically abuse women. He saw the transportation as a tool of that abuse.
So he rejected the consensual freak-off narrative entirely.
Completely. And that's why he handed down the 50-month sentence.
So Diddy goes to jail, and 50 Cent goes to Netflix. Let's talk about Sean Combs, The Reckoning.
Released December 2nd, 2025. 50 million views in the first month. It is a juggernaut.
And 50's line is that this isn't personal. He says it's about accountability for the culture. Do we believe that?
I mean, it's hard to separate the two, right? On one hand, yes, the documentary exposes terrible things, but on the other hand, it's the ultimate victory lap for him, and it features footage that is just incredibly damaging.
The leaked footage is what everyone was talking about last month. They have Diddy in a hotel room just days before his arrest in September 2024. He's pacing, he looks totally rattled.
And he's on the phone saying, "We're losing."
It just strips away any last bit of dignity. It shows him as a desperate man.
But the existence of that footage is a legal minefield. Diddy's team, they call it stolen. His videographer, Michael Oberlees, claims a freelancer just leaked it.
And Netflix's position is they obtained it legally. But this brings us to the newest development, and this is where the story takes a really dark turn for 50.
The Clayton Howard lawsuit.
This just dropped 2 days ago, January 28th. Clayton Howard is featured in the documentary, right?
He is. He's an ex-sex worker who gave testimony in the film, and now he's suing Netflix and 50 Cent for $20 million.
And his allegation is, it's complicated.
It's explosive. Howard is claiming that the documentary deliberately distorted his story. He says that in his interviews, he detailed how Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex, the primary victim, allegedly trafficked him.
Wait, hold on. He's saying Cassie was an abuser?
He is alleging that she participated in the coercion and trafficking of male sex workers, including himself.
And he's saying the documentary just left that part out.
He claims they cut it out on purpose. His argument is that 50 Cent has a vendetta against Diddy, and to make the story work, they needed a perfect victim. They needed Cassie to be the innocent damsel and Diddy to be the sole monster.
So Howard is saying, you erased my trauma to make a cleaner movie that serves 50 Cent's narrative.
That's the accusation. And if it's true, it means 50 Cent isn't just a whistleblower. He's a manipulator.
Wow.
It suggests he's willing to curate the truth to ensure maximum damage. If he protected Cassie by hiding these allegations against her just to make sure the Diddy takedown was airtight, I mean, that is ethically very murky.
It complicates everything. We spent this whole time talking about how 50 played the long game to expose the truth. But now you have to ask, did he expose the truth or did he just direct a movie?
That's the danger when a rival gets to write the history books. 50 positioned himself as the moral authority. But if this lawsuit gets any traction, he risks of becoming the villain in the next chapter.
So where does that leave us? Diddy is sitting in Fort Dix. What's his next move?
He's appealing. His lawyers are arguing that the judge let the trafficking charges, the ones he was acquitted of, improperly influence the sentencing on the transportation charges.
And those arguments are set for April of this year. So there's a non-zero chance his sentence could be reduced.
It is possible. Appeals are always a long shot, but that split verdict gives them an angle to argue. Meanwhile, you have Diddy's sons trying to launch a counter-narrative on the Zeus network.
So tell their side, right?
Yeah, but frankly, compared to the Netflix machine, it's barely making a ripple.
It really feels like 50 has won the war of public opinion, no matter what happens with the appeal.
Oh, he has. He chipped away at that statue for 20 years until it just toppled over.
So as we wrap this up, what is the big picture here? We've watched a rap beef morph into a federal case.
I think it's about the weaponization of narrative. Diddy used to control the story. He had the money, the access. 50 Cent realized early on that if he could control the audience through humor, social media, persistence, he could eventually beat the money.
The long game is the only game that matters.
Absolutely. But here's the thought I want to leave you with. 50 Cent has branded himself as the truth teller. But with Clayton Howard now claiming his trauma was edited out to fit 50's script, we have to ask a serious question. Is 50 Cent actually interested in justice?
Or is he just happy he's the last one holding the microphone?
That is the heavy question, isn't it? Is he a hero or just the winner?
History is written by the victors.
And right now, 50 is holding the pen.
We will be watching those appeals in April very closely. Until then, keep questioning the narrative.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.